Thank you. Okay. Arigato, Naoki. We should do better in harnessing the opportunities that the new communications formats give us in market research, especially in what image is related. This was said yesterday by Craig in the opening session, our representative, Esomar representative here in Thailand. Voice is the future. That's what our Thai colleagues showed yesterday in an excellent presentation. This is what I'm going to talk about in this presentation. OK, now. So yesterday was pretty clear, I think, for all of us after the remarkable keynote speaking that we had, that human and computer interaction is in a very, very accelerated pace. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's not something from the future. It's something very present and where lots of money are being invested. Machine learning, another one of the features that's currently driving our industries across the globe. Virtual reality, augmented reality, computer vision, voice recognition, and many others that yesterday Stephen showed us. Chris Stephenson, sorry, showed us. And we were quite impacted. I mean, it's a reality that the pace of change since 2007 has been exponential. And we are in this exponential change that he showed us yesterday in a way that I think some of you and many people could be very well related to this picture that we found in the streets of Barcelona not very recently. So it was easier, much easier when Apple was just a fruit. Because it was in 2007 that Steve Jobs really launched the iPhone, and many other disruptive technologies happened in that year that have accelerated this pace of change. But we cannot do anything about that. I mean, change will be there, the exponential will be there. So let's focus on how we can take advantage of those technologies to improve our profession, to improve our techniques and our methodologies. And I'm going to focus on the two that I mentioned before. So the first, image recognition. I would like to share with you some information on image recognition, such as that today it is estimated a value of $16 billion. But in 3 years, it will be almost the size of our industry. So the market research industry is valuing $45 billion last year. It will be 39, and it's being already used by many industries, such as e-commerce. So just taking a picture of some object, and you can get directly linked to the purchase of it. It's linked as well, or used in video gaming. It's used in automotive, and it's very key element for the self-driving car, the new coming revolution in the automotive industry. Or, for instance, closer to our profession, trends detection. Now we can just ask for which are the images related to any subject that we might be interested in studying, and we get thousands of pictures related to that, and colors, and trends, and whatever. Voice recognition. We'll talk a little bit more about that, because as our Thai colleagues said, voice is the future, and we saw as well in the keynote speaking. 33 million voice-first devices in circulation. 325.8 million people use voice control in the past month, and it's growing every month. 25% of searches on Windows 10 are voice on desktop. Voice e-commerce is already a figure, and it's going to be expected to increase quite exponentially in the US, UK. And some estimations, 50% of all searches will be voice searches by 2020, according to Comscore. Or by 2019, the voice recognition market will be worth $600 million industry. Okay? And as we said yesterday, or we saw yesterday, is going to be increased. And this is a new platform for brands and for all of us to interact with consumers. And this is why we are facing this new battle among platforms. So we have Amazon, Alexa, Apple, Siri, Google Home, Samsung, Alibaba here in the region, this giant player, Orange, Microsoft. All these big guys are really having this fight in this new field. Last Thursday, as Stephenson told us yesterday, Google launched its latest version on voice recognition, which is quite fantastic. I have the video here. I will not show it for time reasons, but I really recommend it to see how perfect, how human the voice of the machine can be, and the interaction, very, very natural interaction. So I really recommend have a look. Oh, sorry, this is not going to play. So voice recognition is a new opportunity for brands. New opportunity for brands that have already been used. So we have these big players. We have, for instance, Campbell's helping us with these dinner solutions. We have Hyundai. We can have in the sites or in the field of cocktails, we have some nice initiatives. Or for instance, here in Asia, we have this big player that is already giving the service of converting from voice to audio into any other important language in the world. So voice recognition is a new opportunity for brands, and mainly in this voice assistance business that is heading up. As such, as market researchers, I think we should admit that we have not been that good in adopting new technologies in the last years. I think we are now in a fortunate moment, in the sense that, for instance, in this conference, here in the auditorium or in the exhibition floor, we have seen many of those solutions already implemented. But it's taken us a while. And for instance, if we look into our data collection methodology, we still can say that mobile is not yet there. We have been talking about the mobile solution, but still, we are not that good in interacting with our respondents with the mobile surveys. So we still have a lot to progress. Respondents' engagement, on another side, is also a challenge. If we look at figures, and on the KT side, figures have really decreased since 1997, with a 36% of response rate to a 9% in 2012. If we look at the CAWI, at online surveys, it has decreased in those years by 50%. And if we look into our own data, Netquest-based panel in Spain, in 2008, we had a response. This is a ratio, by the way, more sophisticated than not just how many participations we get from invites. This is looking into the first 10 participations of a single panelist on how many occasions who will participate. So looking into this ratio, in 2008, 53% of occasions that a person was invited were participating in these 10 first invites. Today, it has decreased into 35%. We are constantly working to increase this level of engagement, because it's really when we get the responses from the panelists. Today, mobile, as we know, is the main, it's our brain in our hand. In Asia, 65% of the whole traffic, internet traffic, is done through the mobile. Globally, it's 53%. In our surveys, it's 46%. So yet we have a challenge, because our respondent, when we find our respondent, is on the mobile, more than in any other device. So we have the challenge of how to keep this engagement of the respondents in the habitat, in their context, which is their mobile and the usage of mobile. So this is why we run this study, these experiments, trying to improve the engagement of surveys on mobile devices. We were having this exploration on how image recognition and voice recognition could improve the response rate of our panelists, because that is the context in which they are. People send images, people send voice notes, yeah. So this is the context. And in order to process all these huge data sets, we really needed to get artificial intelligence in hand to use it. So this is the project that I will share with you. We need to use some APIs, some technology that is available. In that case, forgive me, it's not just publicity for Google, it's just the two APIs that we use, the Google Vision and Google Cloud Speech. Because on the image side, we wanted to understand how precise this API or the technology could detect and tag images, how good the API could be for the conversion from audio to text, and more importantly, if we consider that the longer inputs we have, the better response, how responses could be with the voice input. So getting to the image recognition, our study was on the millennials. We understood that millennials is one of the segments more difficult to engage into surveys. So it was millennials with interlock quotas of country, age, and gender in Spain and Mexico, and it was last year. Okay, so we had Spain and Mexico, people between 16 and 34 years old. What they had to do is we were asking them to upload in the survey either an image of where they were located at the moment and an image they could be had in their storage in the mobile, a meme, something funny that they would be keeping, and we asked them to upload that. And then it was coded in two ways. One was a human coder that was processing the information and tagging with some tags what the image was about. And the second one was Google Vision that generates automatically the tags. And there was a third person, independent person, that was analyzing how precise was each one of those coders, the human and the machine. And in the end, they were tagging and then codified the tags. No? So we found on voice recognition, on the other hand, the study was people older than 16 years old, interlock quotas, age, gender, education, and operation system. So we had Android and iOS, and the process was the following. So for iOS, we took advantage of the own technology of the system, which is voice recording and convert it into text directly. And on Android, we had to ask the respondents to download a software that could do the recording, then use the API to convert from audio to text, and then analyze the result. So what were the results? In terms of image, 65% of the codification of the machine is similar or equal to the human person that codified. Sometimes results were the same or similar. So this is a dog. The person identifies it as a dog. But funnily enough, interestingly enough, the machine could detect not only the dog, but also some other specifications of the image. So in that case, 65% were similar. On the other hand, some were not similar. So on this occasion, the picture was not clear. I do not know whether it was not clear because it is Apple devices, and the Google system could not detect those Apple devices, or it's just a simple question of that the question was not clear. But anyway, they were not identified as the same thing. If we talk about resources, for the human, it took 35 hours to identify all these almost 2,000 images that we got. So 35 hours, it's almost 1 week. For the machine, it was less than 5 minutes. So 5 minutes. If we convert this time into cost, so we could say it was almost more than 500 euros from the human side and less than 2 euros, 1.30 euro for the machine. Okay, this is for the images. For the voice, we work under the hypothesis that the more characters we were getting, the richer the information was, the richer the context was. So in terms of the voice recognition, what we were doing was comparing what people, the control group, were typing. So they were typing respond and the questions, their response, and what they were talking, they were recording as voice. In that scenario, the average characters that we got from the voice recognition was almost 100 towards almost 60 when typing. So again, there was a difference, or there was an increase of characters by 70% in the case of recording and not typing. So again, in this context, the richness of information that we were receiving from the voice was higher than the typing. Some conclusions about these surveys. First, the API plus images is valid, although the error is pretty high. We have to take into account on when to apply this sort of analysis, when to apply the machine. In that occasion, 65% of accurateness was high, but still it's not 100%. So in that case, the conclusion was the human is more accurate and is better still in that process. So when to use this sort of applications, when to use this artificial intelligence, well, we would recommend to use it when first, on a subset, analyze which is this error, to have it present, try to understand which is the rationale that the machine is using into this analysis, and work on that for context, very general context, or to determine where the people is responding from the survey. So in terms of images, it is not there. Still, human is better in terms of recognizing and tagging images. In terms of voice, it is there. In terms of voice, the conversion is valid. Very few errors in the conversion from audio to text, and very few errors in terms of interpretation of what was said. So in voice, yeah, we are there. And it is increasing every day. I mean, with all these guys investing so much money in this recognition, it is really, really improved. And it also, what is quite interesting is that it opens us a new opportunity, which is the sentiment analysis. Not for images that already exist, but in terms of voice. The tone of voice, the way we work, the way we speak, is very significant on the mood we have. So the sentiment analysis here can be very, very rich, and it's one of the things that brands are considering to improve their conversations with customers. And why not in our industry, where bots are a present problem, and particularly in some countries here in this region, using these sort of techniques can be very valid to really determine who is responding a survey. Asking somebody to take a picture of where they are, or even talking to the machine, in certain moments it can improve the engagement of the person from one side, and on the other side it can really be a kind of certification filter for who is responding a survey. So it's another side effect that we could have. As we have been seeing all these days, market research, we as professionals, we are facing many challenges, and we have many opportunities. The palette of solutions is increased by far, is exponentially increasing, as we have seen all these days. It's been also the case that during many years we have been kind of confused. On some occasions we have had many overpromises on, wait, we have this technology. And by the way, this technology has been brought from outsiders. It's not been the own system of market research that has provoked these innovations. We have just taken advantage of the technology that was there. Somebody was developing a tool, an API, whatever, or an app, and they developed that and said, hey, I have this. What is this useful for? And it happened that it was useful for the market research industry. And this has been the way we have been adapting, implementing the technology. But today, this mist, I think, is being evaporated. I mean, we are now having a more clear picture of which are the technologies that are valid for our industry, for our methodologies. And we are more aware of how much these technologies can boost our deliveries, our outcomes. So, well, this is just a shout for embrace those technologies, because in the end, what we are doing is people understanding people. Thank you.